Hi, my dear Astro family. Today I wanted to make a video about a rare triple conjunction between Pluto, Venus, and Ceres. And it's going to be taking place on 0 degree of Aquarius. And this is a famous degree, right? Because we had the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happening on 0 degree of Aquarius as well back in 2020. So I thought, let's look at this triple conjunction together because this might be quite important. Now, I have got a massive Black Friday sales going on at the moment. Everything is 50% off. So if you would like to have a New Year reading with me, go ahead and book your appointment. And also, I've got a couple of exciting courses coming up connected to synastry, relationship, your relationship desires, how to actually see whether you are compatible with others through very easy steps, though. And most importantly, understanding your relationship needs through your chart. So it's going to be 2 times 10 week course. One is very much focused on your relationship needs. The other one is very much focused on your sexual needs. So let's get started with this triple conjunction. So Pluto, Venus, and Ceres on 0 degree of Aquarius. And this is going to be taking place pretty much, or the three planets are going to be together pretty much at the very same time, by the way. So let's start with Ceres. Oh, by the way, Ceres is going to be entering the sign of Aquarius on the 7th of December. Venus straight after, it moves into the sign of Aquarius as well. So they are going to be forming this triple conjunction on the 7th of December. And I have spoken about the 5th and the 7th, 5th to 7th, how important this might be in the world, because we're going to have the Cazimi, Mercury Cazimi happening, squaring Saturn, squaring Jupiter as well. And on top of that, we've got the Jupiter and Mercury opposition taking place. All of these are within 3 days. So I'm expecting something big to go down in the world. And this is kind of like the second part of that video I posted yesterday about the Mercury Cazimi. Because remembering that this Cazimi is squaring Saturn, which is actually the dispositor of this triple conjunction. So it is actually playing a role in the picture as well. But let's get started. Let's break this down. So first of all, remember the story about Ceres and Pluto. They are kind of enemies. Some people actually call Ceres as being the remedies as well as the poison to the Plutonian part of your chart. The reason probably being is that Ceres was fighting to get her daughter back really, really hard. But eventually they came to an agreement. And Persephone would be spending 6 months with Pluto and 6 months with her own mother. So it kind of created a peace between them two. But until then, they were pretty much fighting all the time. Ceres would have gone through thick and blood to get her daughter back. So the whole story started with the abduction of Persephone. And it's very interesting that Venus is in the picture between these two. And it kind of feels like Venus is the planet of daughters. So this is really about an abduction. And I'm just wondering if someone important, maybe a daughter of a political figure, is going to get abducted, for example. We're talking about ransom situations here and so forth. But let's see, that's kind of like the literal interpretation of this. And there is a lot to mention about this. Now, it because Venus is in the picture, it echoes that we have got relationships that are going through a major change. Pluto as the planet of change, Venus as relationships, collaborations, negotiations. And of course, there is kind of like a third party involved here who is somehow do not want to give up. Maybe it's their opinion, for example. But also Venus represents money as well. So this could talk to you about how volatile the investments might be becoming, and it could be hitting real heights or real lows. Also, so for me, this conjunction is somehow an indication of a continuous fight. This also sounds like, with having Venus in the picture, that we are attempting certain type of peace talks, but maybe it's kind of like ending as a bloodbath as well, because Mars is actually opposing this triple conjunction as well. A few days after, Venus is actually making that opposition to Mars. So there is an element of volatility involved with this triple conjunction. Now, Ceres, as I mentioned, moves into the sign of Aquarius on the 7th of December, and it's going to be there until the 23rd of February. So what is actually, I mean, Ceres spent a tremendously long time in the sign of Capricorn. It was about 9 months. And I did make a video about that before. That was one of the videos I made in 2023 because I felt like Ceres in the sign of Capricorn is actually a big deal. So now, Ceres is moving into a future-orientated sign. And straight away, it looks like it's highlighting the Plutonian themes as well. What is Ceres? Ceres is actually a dwarf planet, just like Pluto since 2006, while Ceres got promotion from an asteroid to become a dwarf planet. Pluto got demoted, and Pluto became a dwarf planet from being a regular planet. So somehow they are on the same level now, but we still tend to be calling it as a asteroid. Probably it's just a little bit easier. Maybe the dwarf planet is kind of mouthful for many of us, but Ceres represents nurturing, support, how we care for others. It is pretty much a little bit of a moon type of archetype. Ceres could represent your attachment styles, but also is the asteroid of depression as well. Ceres was extremely depressed until the moment she gets her daughter back, so it's understandable. So it kind of like feels like with Ceres that it's the mixture of the moon and Venus at the same time. Now, if you're curious where you find Ceres in your birth chart, then you can go on astro.com and then you just add, you click on the extended chart selections. Under the additional objects, you choose Ceres from the menu. Probably about 10, 15 asteroids are listed there. And because Ceres is one of the primary ones. So on the same day when Ceres enters the sign of Aquarius, Venus also does the same. And on top of that, we've got another asteroid joining the club as well on the very same day, and that's Abundancia, which is the asteroid of abundance. Now, I did make a video previously about Abundancia, so you might want to check that out. So we've got actually not a triple conjunction, but we have got a four planetary bodies are making a conjunction here. And the reason why I have picked the market to be mentioned is because abundancia is abundance. So somehow on one hand, it represents your talents, but also money issues as well. So with Pluto being in the picture, it represents something to do with change. And now we've got three another planetary bodies joining this picture. It really feels like that things are getting more intense. Maybe we do need to remember, though, that Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius until what, 2043, 2044. So we might not be seeing this immediately. Pluto Venus meets once a year, but Pluto and Ceres only meet approximately every 4.5, 5 years. So they met in the sign of Capricorn 3 times, which I'm going to talk to you about a little bit. So it looks like there is a way how certain type of relationships are changing. So in the world, I can imagine that there are alliances, and then all of a sudden we detach ourselves from that alliance. So it's kind of like a contractual ending. Maybe it's about forming different type of collaborations with others as well. Ceres also represents the food industry, so it could be impacting that there is a change when it comes to what we have, what we owe, obviously we've got Venus there too, which represents your possessions too. So it looks like there is a change of, let's say, how many guns we've got, how many food we've got on the shelves, and so forth. It's very interesting that when Ceres was discovered, that's when the food industry kind of upgraded itself quite significantly. So the tin foods came into the picture, sugar factories were built, and so forth. And with Pluto being there, it indicates huge changes in the food industry. Ceres is also the asteroid of growth as well. So surely the money could be something that is popping up in the picture with this too. So maybe it's an opportunity for many of us to make financial decisions. And it looks like some will get rich with this combination, Pluto, Venus as a money archetype. And on top of that, some will lose big time as well. So it really feels like that we need to be having a mental clarity here. Series also about how we nourish ourselves, how we support ourselves, and what type of support we receive from others, and what type of support we give to others as well. And it can feel like that, you know what, I cannot give you that support anymore. You need it. So I'm going to have to walk away from it. You know, in the political world, because Aquarius is one of the signs that is connected to politics, and of course, Capricorn, the other one. Scorpio can even represent politics as well to a certain extent. What I'm kind of really feeling is that obviously Ukraine has been supported quite significantly so far. So I'm just wondering if support are not going to be arriving to them anymore. But also, Russia received tremendous amount of support from North Korea as well. So maybe that's going to be cut. Some type of support is stopping here. Obviously, we've got the Middle East crisis situation as well, and they are getting quite a lot of support, especially from US too. So I'm just wondering if it's somehow going to get withdrawn. Now, it is all happening in the sign of Aquarius, which represents organizations and groups. So it's kind of like detaching yourself from a group of people, but also Aquarius represents friends as well. So maybe you feel like that you are not receiving the support from the friends that you have so far, or somehow you need more. So, or it is about you being asked to give support to your friends or to a group of people that you are participating in. So, and sometimes it can feel like that, you know, maybe it's a financial support because Venus is in the picture, and as well as Pluto, which represents wealth. And it could kind of indicate that something is going bankrupted here. Uh, Also, it might feel like that we just pour, we just put all this support in and kind of like I don't feel appreciated for it. Obviously, Aquarius is highly humanitarian. So sometimes Aquarius might have got a bit of a trouble to say no when it comes to especially people who are important to them. Now, also, I'm just wondering because Ceres is, of course, going to be um, walking hand in hand with Mars for quite a while, actually. So I'm just wondering if what could happen is that, it's kind of like a mama tiger type of archetype with Mars and Ceres. So we can become even overly protective with this, or we are trying to control our child in a way not to make any type of silly mistakes. That's the job of a mom, right? And that leads to certain type of chaos or tension getting formulated between two people. Um, Also, maybe there is a need to do self-care here with Ceres, or how to manage your anger, your frustration, because it looks like someone is poking the bear. And that mama tiger type of archetype is going to be losing, the head here. Someone has to be blamed. Someone has to kind of pay for this, right? So it really feels like that this is a little bit of a more on the challenging side type of archetype. Pluto connecting with Ceres, it's about the transformation of how we nurture ourselves. So surely, maybe some of us need to realize that we haven't looked after our money properly. We haven't looked after our relationships properly. And then there is a need here to start anew. Obviously, it's a 0 degree of Aquarius. So that also talks to you about starting something fresh as well. Maybe you have got a desire to be cared for. Maybe you have got a desire to actually protect others. It really looks like that this is a very important triple conjunction, actually. Now, as I promised, I kind of wanted to mention to you that um, um, Pluto and Ceres meet approximately about what, every 4.5, 5 years. So this is not something that happens all the time. And maybe what kind of we need to be remembering with that we had, because, Capricorn and Aquarius are, Aquarius follows Capricorn. So there is somehow a development going on here. And we might need to be thinking about what happened when we look back, during the other Pluto and Ceres conjunctions. So, for example, they met in 2010 October, and that happened on 3 degree of Capricorn. So that was the very first kind of like meeting point for them in the sign of Capricorn. And there were some sexual scandals going down around that time. I looked up on it. Now, Pluto Ceres, obviously someone gets abducted, a young girl. So there is an element of a sexual abuse involved with that too. But I think the person got released, for example. Uh, but also, Pluto and Ceres were continuously in fight. So, in a way, it represents kind of like a military type of actions as well. And obviously, in the sign of Capricorn, which represents the governments, for example. So, this could have really kind of talked to us about the changes that the government kind of started to go through, or even it could talk to us about price increase when it comes to food industry, for example. Then we had a conjunction on in 2015 February, and Ceres and Pluto met on 14 degree of Capricorn. And then we had the very last one in January 2020, and it happened on 22 degree of Capricorn. And that's where Pluto and Saturn conjunction also took place. Now, this is an important one, of course, because we had the start of the COVID. It happened in Capricorn, and the ruler of Capricorn, Saturn, was also in the picture. So, on one hand, there were loads of regulations, right? Wearing mask here, you have to be taking this pill, that vaccination, lockdowns, all these type of things. So obviously with Capricorn, which is all about the rules, but then Aquarius comes up with the idea that I do not want to follow certain type of rules. So what I also can imagine in the world happening is that, I don't know, let's say the EU gives an order that you have to be providing XY amount of money, for example, to another country, and then that member of the state or EU or something like that says, sorry, I cannot kind of do that. I'm just not willing to. I feel sorry for you, but I don't have the resources, for example. So, obviously, the Capricorn, which also represents to a certain extent any type of systems in place and democracy as well. So maybe that's going to be getting questioned now in the sign of Aquarius, where actually there is democracy or not. Now, the bottom line is that because Pluto, Saturn, Ceres conjunction were the ones that kicked off the COVID. So I'm not suggesting that COVID is coming back. However, that could be a possibility. What I'm suggesting is that maybe some of the secrets around COVID and stuff like that will be revealed to us. Also, maybe we need to be looking at Pluto a little bit closer as well. And I know you have heard a lot about Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, probably I shouldn't be talking about that much. However, when we look at what Aquarius is about, on one hand, it's about technological innovation, technological advancements. So we might see that the food production is going to be changing quite significantly in the next 4.5 years. We need to be probably understanding with Aquarius that it's about moving forward. And Pluto is the planet of shifts. So if we want to be moving forward, we need to be making major shifts, right? But also Aquarius represents the internet, for example, or electricity, or anything to do with innovations basically. But on top of that, this is also talking to us about freedom as well. So we might be able to see that there is going to be a lot more fight for freedom in the future. Also, Aquarius is called to be a water bearer. So often Aquarius is said to be emotionally detached, which is true, but it comes with an element of a fear here. The reason why I kind of put my little feet in the water because I want to feel emotions, but I pull my leg out immediately because either it's too cold or too hot. So we need to be able to have a balance here of how we're dealing with our emotions, especially with Ceres being in the picture. Either I am overwhelming, kind of like suffocating or suffocated by my emotions, or I walk away from it completely. So it really feels like that we need to be able to, find the balance with this. Aquarius is very humanitarian and it talks to us about movement as well. So maybe it's going to be, kind of Pluto Ceres feels like a hunger strike. Ceres also did that as well. What she did was that she kind of brought famine onto Earth. She kind of stopped the weather. Ceres represents weather conditions as well and the seasonal changes. And definitely Pluto and Ceres conjunction telling us that the profound changes are inevitable. We need them, even though they look bad, but they are extremely needed. So we might be even seeing that the weather is going to be quite chaotic coming up. But going back to that movement element, the hunger strike type of things. So we might see, more or a different approach to the food prices or different approach to how many homeless people, for example, we have, how many shelters more we need. So being concerned about humanitarian matters could be actually something that is coming with this. And also because Aquarius, we upgrade. So it's going to be very important that we also upgrade somehow, like how humanitarian we are towards others, how much we appreciate the differences. It really feels like that's going to be a question coming up in the next 4.5 years. Also, I mean, recently I'm only seeing these advertisements about AI employees and so forth, and it is scary. Surely, it could really feel like that the humans, for example, in the service industry, like in factories, for example, are going to be replaced by technology, basically. So this might be even asking you, what's your relationship with technology? And I have said this before, but it feels like that it's gonna get, forced onto us. Maybe also you're gonna have to be looking at what's your connection with food. You know what? At the end of the day, I don't think the food prices will be dropping. So people are obviously making conscious choices about buying the cheaper stuff and the branded stuff and the fake stuff. Aquarius represents fake. So, and obviously for a reason, because one of the things that you can save money on is actually food, right? Also, this could, because with Aquarius, sometimes it feels like that I'm getting outcasted. So it's kind of like I'm getting thrown out of a group. And it could feel depressive. It could feel depressing that I got chucked out of a group, which I have had belonged to for a very long time. So we might be even saying that again, another politician, Pluto, might get blocked, for example, on social media. I can imagine. Or it could feel like Aquarius rejection and being excluded from something as well. So imagine a situation that, I don't know, Christmas parties are coming up. And then all of a sudden you kind of feel discriminated because you are not invited to the Christmas party because, I don't know, you didn't hit your target. So therefore you don't deserve it, type of things. Uh, Now, because Venus is there, which represents money, so everyone receives pay rise but me. And then obviously you do not feel great about yourself. But it really feels like that people are going to start thinking about the improvement they can make in their lives, kind of like the quality life. So I'm sensing certain type of kind of like maybe in factories, food factories and so forth, there might be certain type of demonstrations that might be coming up. But the higher message of this that we are all the same flesh and blood, but we are not the same. So there is the topic of equality coming up with Aquarius, that I want to be equally treated. And maybe with Venus and Ceres being there, this is talking to us about the pregnant ladies, for example, or overall just the female rights, which is has been a big topic anyway the last couple of years. So now it gets somehow intensified. And you know what happens with Aquarius, because also Aquarius often feels kind of like rejected and not understood. So most likely, words of certain female leaders, for example, are going to get twisted, and then, but in a disrespectful way. Now we have seen an example of that nowadays. Actually, Angela Merkel, the former prime minister of Germany, I think she's the former one. Yeah, the former prime minister of Germany said that she's a little bit concerned about Elon Musk owing 60% of the satellites in the sky when he is not necessarily a governmental body and so forth, and he cannot be regulated in a way. So she was a little bit concerned about it. And Elon Musk made a fun of her, calling her, he said, who is this Angela Merkin or Merkis? Or basically, he mispronounced her name. And that the way how he pronounced her name means something connected to horses, maybe, or something like that. Anyway, so a little bit of a mimicking type of archetypes looks like it's coming with this. Or if you just think about Aquarius as being the mad scientists, so obviously you come up with something and then everyone thinks that you are mad, but then later on it becomes a huge sensation. It could be also happening with this triple conjunction as well. So that is very briefly about the Pluto Ceres and Venus conjunction. Obviously, it is happening on 0 degree. So the 0 degree is about new beginnings. And Venus being there is definitely trying to create peace and harmony, no matter what it does. So it's kind of like Venus is the mediator between Pluto and Ceres, who are continuously fighting for the attention of the child. And then Venus is kind of like coming into the picture and then trying to promote the freedom of both people. But if that peace is not happening, this is actually leading to a war. And not necessarily a war as in war, but, kind of like a tension between two people. But Venus also represents siblings as well. So it also has got this sibling rivalry type of archetype as well. So I'm wondering neighborhood countries that might be having a bit of a technological clash, for example. Definitely Aquarius is quite rebellious. So I even could imagine things like that farmers are going to be stopping to, I don't know, give food at a certain price to these big companies or something like that, or they just restricting it, or they are trying to increase the prices and so forth, which might lead to, again, a kind of like a war zone. So this is how I would be looking at now for the Pluto and Ceres conjunction. I hope it helps, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.